How have you been feeling lately?
So lately, I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed and a bit highly engaged because I have a lot of things going on at the same time. So it's like you have an expectations of where you're supposed to be, and you know that you're not there yet, right?
Mm.
You expect a lot of things to fall in place and they're not falling in place yet. So that has been the feeling so much so lately.
Okay.
And I think it's a good thing because it's a gateway to know that, you still have something to work on compared to when I'm like in the vacation mode or so relaxed. I don't know.
Which do you prefer? Being in vacation, relaxed, or being overwhelmed?
Funny enough, for most part of my life, I can remember I've always been overwhelmed. So the vacation mode comes in trickles. And vacations are like unconditional vacations, like when you just have to take vacations, when you don't, I really don't plan it,
Yeah.
but it's something I know I should do,
Mm.
So most of the vacation trips I've gone for the vacation of a project I've worked on, and I'll continue
So
the vacation.
they're not primary vacations.
They're not permanent vacations, yeah.
Why though? Why is it like your force of habit is to enjoy being overwhelmed with work and activities as opposed to being still and enjoying being?
So I think so because of the mindset I've been brought up by over time. I'm the first son in my family. My father is also the only son in his
Mm.
family, in his generation, right? And I'm the first son in my entire family. So I've always had this responsibility shoulder that I need to take care of everybody
Yeah.
and myself.
Yeah.
And now that I have my own family as well, so it's not even any easier. So I've always been the go-getting, hardworking kind of person instead of the relaxing and relaxing kind of person. So it's a mindset I know that is not right because as you move in age, you really have to make out time
Mm.
for family, make out time for your health and the rest of them. But until we get there, I mean,
Is there ever going to be a time that
right?
that journey ends?
Um,
Because what I hear you say is, I know what to do. I just do not want to do it because of the mindset, the programming, and the heavy responsibility that I have. I have two subset question, which is why you know what to do, but you don't want to do it because of all the responsibility, the mindset, the programming that says this is how your life should be as a man. Then the second question is when you are being responsible for everybody, who's responsible for you? So Nnanna Adim is a responsible father, a responsible husband, a responsible brother, a responsible son, or it's the one that everyone goes to. So who's Nnanna to Nnanna at the end of the day?
for the better part of my life, again, I've always been a behind the scene person. When I was in telecoms, right? If I can pick back to when I was in telecoms, when I used to go for training and workshop across different locations. If we go for a training and we're taking pictures, I'm always the one behind the camera taking the pictures. I'm always trying to make sure that everybody will get really, really good pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And at the detriment of me being in the picture, you know. For some reason, I mean, that was also an indication on what I was supposed to do with the next level of my life because I transitioned from telecoms to media production. So that experience and all other experiences in my life had made me realize that I'm always trying to give than receive. And I'm happy actually doing it. So it's the core of me will be really fulfilled if I'm able to give out everything that I have and not even retain anything because I actually believe at the end of the day, we are not leaving this planet with a lot more. So if I can put a lot more smiles to people's faces with the little I can and I have, and I should be able to do that. And at times at the detriment of my own peace and my own happiness and my own safety at times. That's a concern and that's a challenge that I struggle with and I keep struggling with because I still don't have the balance yet, And until I get there,
Do you ever think you'll get there at the rate at which you're going?
I think I can. I think I can because it will require conscious effort to build systems that can replace all the things I can do personally. So once I have systems around everything I do personally, then I should be able to step back and watch things run by themselves. Then I should have time for myself.
Okay. We'll have a part 2 of this conversation next year. And we want to hear differently that the systems are now in place and you are now calmer and having time to yourself and all of that.
True, true.
Pinky promise. Okay, so the second aspect of the question, who are you to you in the midst of all this craziness and responsibility? Because I'm also a first child, first African daughter. I can relate, but you're a man. And with a man comes a whole different, in my opinion, higher responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
With a woman, you can still be feminine and still like be chilling and all of that. But for you, it's different. So in the midst of all of that, who are you to you?
I'm a subtotal of my belief systems. Most of what I am and who I am is based on what I believe in and what I've been, told and what I've experienced as well. So starting with my name is Nnanna. Nnanna means father's father. So like Babatunde in Yoruba.
Yeah.
So unconsciously, I'm taking the cloak of fatherhood and that comes with the responsibilities, even as a child. So by design and by default and by naming, I'm already programmed to take care of people, take care of family, to be there, to nurture, to help, to guide, to provide so-called anything that I can.
Mm.
So to an extent, that is still me because I've come to love it. I've come to embrace
Acceptance.
it. I've come to accept it. So I wouldn't want it anyways as well, any other ways, right? It's just that I need to find a way to balance that with also taking care of myself, taking care of others, and also taking care of myself and doing the things I would want to do for me and not just for others.
Every other person.
Yes.
So what I hear you say is that I'm still this for everyone and I was programmed and everything has made me this person. And I've come to acceptance of it, which is a good thing. And I heard you say, I still need to find who I am to me in the midst of it. So you're coming for part 3. Because you really didn't answer the question. You answered it, but in a way of, look, I'm still finding this out myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. I like that you said this cloak of programming of being a father's father figure, even as a child, even all of this. And my next question is, if this entirety of your life isn't what it is, if you were maybe to start again, I like that you've come into acceptance of it, but if you were living the truest expression of yourself, because I had a friend that I spoke to a couple of months ago and I was asking like, as a man, what is the thing he wants the most? And I just randomly asked my male friends, and what the average answer has been like, the truest expression of my emotions. And I felt sad because I really don't think that men are taught how to truly express themselves, which can be quite damaging. So my question to you is, if you were living the truest expression of yourself, the expression that maybe your 5-year-old or 7-year-old self had probably thought about before all the beliefs, the programming, the conditioning happened, what does it really look like?
A life of adventure. Simply put. I so much believe and I so much love adventure. I like traveling. I like discovering new things. I like sightseeing. And perhaps I think that's the reason why even in cinematography, I fell in love with wedding cinematography. More importantly, destination wedding cinematography, so that I can travel across. So you just masqueraded it. So with that, I've been able to travel across different countries and continents, shooting weddings and then capturing cultures, capturing their food and all that. So I love adventures. And if I wasn't doing anything, if I wasn't doing anything for money, or if I wasn't doing anything else, just to just adventure around the world and find new things.
Got it.
And I'm fine.
Got it. Would you say that you've done that to a very good extent outside of masquerading it with your work?
I haven't. For now, it's just, be masqueraded with the work. So it's something that I need to intentionally make out time for it.
Got it. Got it. How do you separate your ego from your soul or from your heart, for lack of a better word? Like when you have like a decision you need to make or you're acting out your daily life. And I say this because everyone has ego, both male and female. And ego is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something, it means that protects us from damaging our self-identity or extended identity. So how do you separate it? How do you separate what your ego is saying versus what your heart is saying? And what is the context that makes you lean into one over the other?
I'm not so into yoga and all of that spiritual experience, but in my mind as well, I practice a lot of out of body experiences.
Okay.
So moments like that, in split seconds, if I would make a decision about that has to do with a hard decision or an ego decision, or even words, that has to do with a hard decision or an ego decision, I get to practice that to step outside myself and then to look at the options, how it affects the other party.
Got it.
I try to do it unconsciously, so I look at the options, and most times I usually will go for the hard decisions and the hard engagement because that's what I always lean towards, and that has been working for me, even against what I really would want to do or what is not,
what the ego really wants to do.
Yeah,
Got it.
Wants to do, yes.
Got it. I like that you said that because I think that's something I recently started to practice, where I take myself out of myself for a fuller picture. So especially when I'm going through like a hard time or going through like negative emotions, before I would usually just sit in it and be upset and be angry. But now, say like a couple of months ago, I take myself out of myself to see myself and see the full picture to say, is this where it ends? No. Is this what I'm supposed to do with how I'm feeling right now? Yes or no? And then is there something coming that is better? Absolutely. So I realized that I have to stop making decisions based on my current emotions, especially like ego-driven emotions, and then look at the fuller picture to say, okay, peace be still. Peace be still. There is a whole lot more that is yet to come and that is happening that you're not seeing, because sometimes the truth is not in the appearance of what you're currently seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you come about it? Because I don't even know how I came about it. I just realized that one time I had to find a way to stop letting my ego win. So how did you come about it?
So I'm always trying to weigh things very well before I say it and I do it. And I know by default, even as a child, by default, anybody would be inclined towards ego because it makes you look good, makes you feel good, makes you outstanding.
Massages it.
Yeah. It's about the image. But on the other hand, making decisions and actions through the heart is always better.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. What is your faith like these days? And is it the same that it used to be like when you were maybe younger or maybe like a couple of years ago? Is there anything that has changed, and what has been the result of that change? And I ask you this because we actually have the same coach, and we know, I would say we have a different understanding as to the different context of faith, so to speak. And for me, that has helped me to be more open-minded. That has helped me to know that all that I know is not all there is to know, especially about God, and be accepting of other faith context that isn't mine, because the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. So what has that been like for you, having your context of faith and how it has morphed or grown or depleted or been in stagnancy rather? So yes.
So growing up, I grew up in a Catholic family. So if you know a regular Catholic family, there will always be family prayers that are always mandatory.
Got it.
you get dragged out of sleep to come and sing and pray, praises and worship.
I think all Nigerians grew up in the same home, whether it's Catholic or not.
You must learn the song, you must sing, praise the Lord, oh, sing God. It was fun and it was an experience, really.
Yeah.
So growing up and now living by myself, I was able to find God for myself. Mm-hmm. So I moved from the Catholic system to the Pentecostal system. Mm-hmm. I became a born again at some point. And I became closer to God. That actually started working for God. So my faith is connected with works because I believe to a large extent that there's a scripture that says that if you walk in his vineyard, he will walk in yours. So as long as I can remember in any city that I am, like when I moved from Enugu to Port Harcourt to Asaba to Lagos, then outside, I've always been involved in the church team. And guess what? It's a media team. It has to be the media team, you know, because that's what I'm passionate about. Yeah. And then it's giving back, and it's part of my faith work. You know, so I've always been involved in this vineyard. But again, now to the later days, I've come to realize that because now that I'm based in the UK and I've traveled around the world, you know, different experiences at different times.
I like where this is going.
I've come to realize that it is not everything we pray for we should be praying for. It is not the amount and the time that we spend praying that determines if the person's prayers will be answered. So, a lot of conditioning by Christianity and faith, I'm trying to recondition my mind around it. Because I mean, even we know that Christianity was brought to Africa by the white. Now you look at the white, they're not that religious and they get things done and they still have a relationship with God. They don't spend that much. I'm like, hey guys, come on. Like seriously.
I know the feeling because I also live in the UK. And I'm like, wait, it doesn't make sense. It's either God is lying to us or we're serving a different God.
Yes. You know?
Like, something doesn't make sense.
Yes. And it's so obvious that some things God has given us power to do, just fix it. You don't have to pray about it. I actually argue a lot with a couple of really close friends of mine that it's not everything you need to pray for. Like, I've heard one time TDJ talking about faith and works, that there's some things that you don't need to pray for. If you are in a burning room, you see fire, you see smoke, you see door, you run. It's not time to ask God if it's his will, you should escape. So likewise, a lot of things we pray for in Africa and Nigeria is not things we should be praying for. It's things that we should work towards because it's giving us the strength and power to do all that. So my faith is evolved, and a lot of things we know, a lot of things we are told, oh, come on. Oh, come on now. Oh, come on. You know, and it's like as if you're challenging the institutions, they're challenging, like I said, you're challenging God, but it's not. They've made it, you know, to be bigger than what it is. It's just having a proper relationship with God that really, really matters. And I've come to realize that even in my work with God and in my work for God, which is working in his vineyard, working in churches and all that, there was a time I was working out when I was working in telecoms. Okay, so I was running shift. So it's only the days I'm available that I have to put in work with the team. Okay. And that was understood. And that was accepted. As compared to the fact that if you don't appear in church every Sunday,
you'll be criticized.
You're no longer Christian enough. If you don't attend midweek services, you're no longer Christian enough. What if you're a doctor and you have to be in the theater? You know? So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do with our mindset.
I feel like if we start this conversation, it will take over the entire. So I'm just gonna hold my chest and say, no, don't drag me to this conversation, Nnanna. Okay, that's a very good answer. Thank you. So I want to speak on Akukum. I got the pronunciation well.
Yes.
And I'm very fascinated about multifaceted people. I think I'm even more fascinated about people who stay with one thing for a period of time before they go to the next and then the next. However, you still see the core part of them in the different things they go to. And it fascinates me because I'm not like that. I'm not like that at all. And for me, it's this is what my heart is saying to do now. And it's what I want to do. And it's worked for me. It's worked amazingly well for me. But there is the extremes. I think what's something that I've learned in the past year is balance. There is the extreme of good and there is the extreme of bad. There's the law of good and there's the law of evil. What we need as humans is balance. For people who just stays with one thing for the rest of their life or for the entirety of their life, I love it for them. But sometimes I question, do you ever think to explore the different parts of you in other contexts? And for you, who I believe you found amazing balance to know how to stay in it for as long as you need to and shift into differently while still carrying along that. Tell me what that dance and transition is like from telecoms to media to healthcare. I would love to hear your experience of staying with one thing until it is time to move, how you do the moving and how you take what is in the previous to the current, and then just how you do it all.
So for me, the core of what I do is about impact. So I try as much as possible to see that I'm able to create opportunities for impact or make impact myself by what I do directly over time. So like I started with telecoms, and then I stayed there for 12 years. I was in telecoms that I did.
What company?
I was in MTN for 12 years. Okay. So I was a transmission call planning engineer. I was in the East.
Years.
I was in the East, and then I got transferred to Asaba. I was in Port Harcourt, then Asaba, then Lagos. So there in Lagos, I was handling like the entire call planning for all the transmission call systems in the whole of the East. Staying in MTN taught me systems and processes and staying power to get things done, and then ability to start and finish a project, because at any point in time there's always a new project being executed or about to start, or a project finishing, and the ability to work on multiple projects at the same time. Like you're building a new base station here, you're installing a radio here, you're doing testing, different things happening at the same time, being able to manage all of that at the same time. So that was quite interesting for me. And then the concept of line of sight in telecom. So there's this concept of line of sight. If two radio stations need to talk to themselves, they need to be in positions where there'll be a line of sight, so that radio frequency can move from this antenna to the other antenna. Exactly. So I've always had that mindset in me. That also connected with my media mindset, because you need line of sight from the subject you're trying to capture to the camera that's definitely getting the capture. Right? You need that line of sight to be able to get really good content. So telecom was really interesting. But I've also known that I've always been interested in what happens behind the scene in cameras, right? I've always been adventurous. That's part of the adventure. So I'll tell you a story. My mother still tells me till tomorrow. When I was like 7 or 5 years old, I was sitting watching TV, jejely, and then all of a sudden NEPA took light.